organizations. We do administrative advocacy. We make good trouble. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. And the good trouble comes in the form of doing legislative advocacy, administrative advocacy, representing, we help people with fair hearings. We also do litigation. So today we're going to be talking about the CAPI program. The CAPI program is the California Assistance Program for Immigrants that was enacted way back in 1998 by Assemblyman Villagrosa from LA County. And the idea was that the horrible Welfare Reform Act that was enacted in 1998 excluded immigrants who are lawfully in the United States of America from getting SSI. So rather than getting SSI, now they will be getting CAPI. And currently in California, there's about 15,000 cases who are receiving CAPI. LA County has the lion, about 50% of the cases are in LA County, followed by Alameda, Orange, Santa Clara, and Sacramento. Alameda is about 1,100. Orange County is 1,101. Santa Clara County is 983. Sacramento is 934. And then you get down to Riverside, which is about 600. San Diego, 500. San Mateo is 300. And so that's sort of like where most of the clients are getting CAPI. There's our phone number, address, and we will let's go to the next slide and see what that says. Okay, yeah. So if you're going to do a CAPI advocacy, it's always good to know what the law is. And the statute is embodied in Welfare Institutions Code 18937 at SEC. And we have a link over there that you can click on and it will pop up. And then Department of Social Services does regulations, and that is Division 49. And the PowerPoint that you have also has a link that you can click on, it will pop up. And then there's also CAPI, all county letters, and all county information notices, which is another way of establishing policy. So the county looks at the state law, the regulations, and then the state all county letters and ACINs. And also counties have their own policies and procedures for CAPI. And you can get those through the Public Records Act request. All you have to do is send a Public Records Act request to your friend in the county and ask them for a copy of all of the CAPI county notices, forms, and policy issuances. Finally, the CAPI law is predicated mostly on SSI. So therefore, you can look at the SSI laws, regulations, and POMs are sort of what constitutes the basis of the foundation for the CAPI program. And if people have questions as I go through this slowly or fastly, ask. Don't be shy, it's all right. Okay, next slide are the forms. Of course, we have to have forms. And the forms are, we have the link for the form. Social 814 is the application form. Social 451 is a form for eligibility for children. Form 453 is they want to know what your household expenses and contributions are to make sure to see if there's in-kind income or not. In-kind income is a big problem. So most of my CAPI clients what I do, I have them do a rental agreement. So if they're living with someone, they say that I'm renting that room for $300, and then they have this trick question over there: how much would you charge somebody else for the same room? And some people say, well, gee, I'm a nice guy. I'm not going to charge. I'm not. I mean, I charge other people $600, but I'm nice, so I'm going to charge my mom or my relative $300. So then they snatch, they reduce your benefits by $300 because they say, well, nice guy, he's only charging you $300 rather than $600. So I always charge. The question is, what would you charge other people? Same thing, nothing different. And then there are people who have a sponsor, and then they also have you sign the Social 451, and that's a reimbursement, interim assistance reimbursement. That means that if the CAPI recipient becomes an SSI recipient, it takes a while for SSI to make a determination. If they get, if you get retroactive SSI, CAPI could come and get that money back. And finally, the Social 813 is for exception for sponsored aliens. So that's the form that you sign. If you have a sponsor, you could get an exception. And I think we talk about the exceptions down the line. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so CAPI basically is sort of like SSI. CAPI provides assistance to non-citizens who are aged, blind, or disabled. And age is over 65. Blind is if you are legally blind. And disabled means that you're not eligible. We'll talk about the disability, I think, down the line, but there's a whole rule for disability, and that takes a long time to get. It could take a year or more, or less or more. And of course, that the only reason that you get CAPI is because you have to get verification from Social Security saying that you are. They have a form that they give you that you take to the Social Security office saying that they deny you SSI due to your immigration status, or you were on refugee. You're a refugee, and you got SSI for 7 years, and you're still not a citizen. After 7 years, then they send you a letter saying that because you've been on SSI for 7 years, we're going to terminate your benefits. And people should, once they get that, they should right away apply for CAPI. Moving on to the next whiskey bar. Hey, who's eligible for CAPI? Be a non-citizen meeting the immigration status, which is basically crew call. Be at least 65 years old, which I already said. You meet the disability definitions of disability and blindness. And we have the CFR 20 in there. And you have to be ineligible solely because of your immigration status. No questions? Go on. To be a pro call, you have to live in California, have income and resources below SSI limits, and show proof that you've applied and have been denied SSI. Okay. You have to live in California, I guess that's the bottom line, yeah. And if you leave the country for 30 days, then that could be an overpayment. But if you leave on the 2nd of the month and come back on the 29th of the month, then that would be not an overpayment. Marcella, you have your hand around, your hand is shaking. What's up?
Hey, Kevin. Pro call here in California, like for example, the pro call for Medi-Cal, where if somebody is being petitioned, like let's say for LPR status, but they don't have anything yet, they would technically be eligible for CAPI? Is that what this pro call is?
No, I don't think so. I think this is limited.
Okay, so not just like like somebody who's 65 and older being petitioned by like, let's say an adult child. But they don't have anything in place yet at all, right? They just have that petition in,
Right.
immigration sends them an alien number, but everything's just like pending, right?
Right.
Not that.
Yeah, no, you get Medi-Cal, but you don't get CAPI.
Okay, got it.
In fact, there's a
Thank you.
bill out there by Assemblyman Guerrero that's to simplify the CAPI program, say anybody who lives in California, it doesn't matter what their immigration status is, they should get CAPI. You will. Okay. Thanks, Sarah. Okay, next. What are the disability requirements to receive CAPI? Same as SSI. Basically, you cannot work more than 12 months anywhere in the United States of America. And there's a whole bunch of information about SSI disability. It's crazy, but it's the same rule. Whatever applies for SSI, the same thing. In fact, the same office, the Department of Social Services has a disability determination division that makes that determination. So if you apply for CAPI or for SSI, your application for disability goes to the disability determination unit who makes that determination. Next. Oh. How to apply for CAPI, you could go to your welfare office. Any welfare office should accept your application. Every county is supposed to take your application, and not every county processes applications. And if there's a next slide that shows which counties do, which counties process applications and which counties have a consortium. They have two consortiums. One is San Mateo, the other one is Sacramento. And then there's about 20 other counties who do their own applications, LA being one of them. So technically, you should be able to go and apply at any office, and they would send it to the appropriate processing center to process your application. The problem is a lot of offices, if you go to the welfare office and ask the receptionist that I want to apply for CAPI, they say, no, I'm not happy. We don't have a CAPI happy program. So, and we're working on that to educate them. And also there's a problem with applying online too. Okay, let's go to the next slide. Okay. So there are 28 counties. The first county is the Sacramento area, Sacramento County, that handles all the applications for the 28 counties. And then the San Mateo Consortia handles all of the applications for Alameda, Contra, Marine, blah, 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 all those counties. When you, hopefully, when you, there's two ways that you could apply. You could send it directly to the consortiums. And if anybody has a problem with that, contact me. You have my email, and I'll help you show you how to file an application. Basically, what I do, I fill out the forms, get them to sign it, I scan it, and I email it to them. And I email it to a bunch of people. So the director, the deputy director, and also the unit that processes these applications get a copy of it. And once they get that, they have to process, and generally they process it. So that's how I handle my, when people come to me to apply for CAPI. Okay, Aziza, you want to come off mute and say?
Especially in Alameda County, there's been a lot of issues recently with CAPI applications because Alameda County will point at San Mateo and San Mateo will point at with to Alameda County in terms of getting any sort of help for my clients. So they've just been recently pointing the finger at each other in terms of who we go to for any sort of assistance with CAPI.
Well, I would go to, there's a consortium. In fact, you know what, I need to get the San Mateo consortium, find out who those people are. Yeah, San Mateo. Yeah. And I will talk to, because I know who the Sacramento people are, but I don't know who the consortium for who the people are in Alameda and San Mateo County, the unit that processes these applications. I would send it to, in fact, when I apply, I would also suggest that you send a copy, email Stephen Kohler. You know who Stephen Kohler is, Aziza?
No, I don't, sorry.
Yeah, by email, send me an email and I will, he's the guy who's in charge of the CAPI program for the state. So if I found an application, I send it to him and to the county. So that way they could talk to each other and he could call up and say, well, what's happening with this application?
Okay.
So that's always a way of getting their attention.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. It's what they call good trouble. Okay, so the next slide has a list of the counties that allegedly process their own applications. And this is the list of the counties. It's LA County does their own, San Diego, San Bernardino, Riverside, the big counties do their own applications. And often if you go into these counties, they will have no idea what the hell a CAPI application is. And at this point, and it should be noted that I do have an attachment that was mailed out to you. And you can see that the latest data that we have is from July of 2023. And in July 2023, there was 1,848 applications filed statewide, and 914 were in LA. Then Orange County was 153. And then the application denied shows Santa Clara denied 81% of the applications. Orange County denied 75, San Bernardino 71, San Mateo 69, and Sacramento 49. So if you go to the, in the chat, I have a link to the data, and you can get this data, and you can open up the 1037 reports. And if anybody has any problem with it, call me up on my cell phone, and my cell number, I'll put that in the chat. Yeah. Okay, David, can you put my number in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go to the next. Any question though? Resource limit. So resource limit is 2,000 for a single person and 3,000 for a couple. One car. Huh? What happened? Somebody have a question? Why not? You know, one car is exempt no matter how much it's worth. It could be worth $1 million. One car is exempt. The next car, if you have two cars, then it becomes a problem. And that car, the next car has to, whatever you have in your liquid resources and the value of that car together have to be less than the 2,000 or 3,000 number. So if it's a couple and they have two cars and the other car is worth 2,500 and they got $600 in the bank, that makes them ineligible. So they should only have one car, not two cars. They could put that other car in their uncle's, aunt, son, grandson, somebody else's name, and they could still drive it. that they should not have two cars in their name. Bad to have cars. The house that you're living in is totally exempt, even if it's a mansion. As long as you live there, it's exempt. If you don't live there, then that is a countable resource. And again, it goes back to the 2,000, 3,000 limit. So this becomes a problem when somebody has a house or an apartment in another country. The county never knows about that. And what happens, some of our clients go over there and say, oh yeah, I have an apartment in wherever. Boom, they deny you. And then you have to get verification of how much that is worth, and this becomes a problem. So let's go to the next slide. Yeah, CAPI is paid, just like SSI, it's paid from if you apply on the second day of June, you're only eligible beginning July 1. It's not from the date of application like CalWorks or food stamps are. It's the next month. That comes from the previous century, and they haven't changed that rule. I don't know why. That should be something that people should do. And meanwhile, you can get GAGR if you're lucky, and food stamps. And you can still get food stamps. It used to be that SSI folks, they didn't give you food stamps. Now they get food stamps. So, yeah. Can I qualify for CAPI while I'm eligible for a sub-SSI? No, you cannot get CAPI on SSI. CAPI is only for people who are not receiving SSI and because of their immigration status. Oh, can I get Medi-Cal? Oh, yeah, you could get not only Medi-Cal, but you could also get IHHS because once you're eligible for Medi-Cal, you could also get in-home supportive services. Yeah, and the answer is yes, you could get food stamps. Yeah, you get CFAP and you could get food stamps, basically. Yeah, it's too complicated.
There's a question from Sergio. Sergio, can you unmute and clarify your question? The amount is for a month or for the year? Is in the chat. What is that question?
Hi. My question is the amount of money that that person can receive is that amount is by month or that's for the total year?
No, it's a monthly. They give you a monthly check. They don't give you, yeah, you get a check every month based on the month. Does that make any sense?
Yes, thank you.
Now, sometimes what happens if you apply in May because of a disability, and then they approve your disability in June of next year, then they go retroactive and give you all the back pay. So that's when they get a bunch of money. But after that, prospectively, they give it to you monthly. Would be nice to get it yearly, but then no, they won't do that. They've never done that. That would be nice.
But there is a cap or there's a total amount that they can receive or how do they qualify? What is the amount that they can receive monthly?
It's about if they have no income and no in-kind income, I think it's 1,000. It's over $1,000. Okay, and we have public assistance tables on our webpage, and you can look at the public assistance tables, and that has the exact amount of what a disabled person gets. Blind people get more than the disabled and the age, and what couples get. So if you go to our webpage, you can find the public assistance tables. It also has information about food stamps, Medi-Cal, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Was that a good ad? Is that okay?
Yes, thank you.
Next, so we could get food stamps. After food stamps, what do we have? Oh, Estela.
Yeah, right quick, Kevin, just wanted to double check and ask you, I wanted to piggyback on the form, the 455 form. Which is best to check off, the initial claim or the post eligibility when you're filling out that form?
I think both.
You select both?
Yeah, I know.
I thought you only had to select one, that's why I was asking.
I mean, I don't want to, I guess my thought is why, who cares? I mean, so, I mean, I would mark both. I don't want them to mark just one and then they reject it, say you have to mark both. I mean, so.
Okay,
I
well,
mean,
yeah,
I
because
don't-
it's just complicated because there's two sections, one on the top and then one on the bottom. So you basically just select all four?
I just mark yes, you want to have my retroactive money that I don't have? Be my guest. I mean, see you later.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's why I didn't think it mattered too much, but I was just curious because I always have trouble with this form.
Yeah, I don't do. In fact, I have a pre-populated form. Yeah, I have a
Okay.
pre-populated form. If you send me an email, I can send you some of the stuff I have.
Okay, and then just one quick question that I want to clarify and make sure that I understand. When a person is applying for CAPI, they have to be in the process of going through immigration, of having submitted some sort of paperwork that they're in through, or is a police report suffice?
We're talking about domestic violence.
I'm talking about when you apply for CAPI, do you already have to have something in place through immigration? Or can you apply just with a police report?
No, you can. It's not a police report. Basically, they want to know what your immigration status is.
Yeah,
Basically, it's a refugee.
yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah,
I just
refugee or asylee, or
The status of your legal,
yeah. Oh yeah, they have to be lawfully here.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I thought. I just wanted to confirm.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
they're very stringent on it. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
CAPI is they redetermine every 12 months. They put you through this little process. They have a redetermination form, and they send it to you, and you have to fill it out. If anybody gets a notice of action saying that they're going to stop the CAPI because they didn't get your redetermination, you should immediately ask for a hearing. So if they send you a notice of action on June the 20th saying, we're going to stop your benefits because we did not get your redetermination forms, but I would first ask for a hearing, because once you ask for a hearing, that means next month they have to pay you, no matter what. And then I would fill out the forms and send it to them. Because some people just say, well, I send the forms again. And then they get the forms and they say, you didn't dot the I, or you didn't cross the T. So therefore it's incomplete. So now you have to reapply. So that's why whenever you get a notice of action, the first thing you do, you ask for a hearing. Like I said, the second thing you do, you scratch your head. The third thing you could do is call them up and say, hey, what is this all about? But once you file for a fair hearing, everything stays the same. And you could always drop the hearing, because generally those are protection hearings. And once the hearing comes up, then the county will contact you and say, oh, everything is okay. You want to do a withdrawal? Sure, everything is okay. We do conditional withdrawal, but the benefits continue. Next slide. What is the monthly difference between CAPI and supplemental security? The monthly difference is basically $10 a month, or $10 a month or $20 between CAPI and SSI. It's not that much. It's basically 10 or 20, which is yeah. So that's in fact, what happens, people should know that often people are on CAPI because of disability, and then they become a citizen, then they go to apply for SSI. SSI denies them because they say, oh, we've determined now that you're not disabled. So, so I tell people who are disabled, just get your CAPI and don't do anything. I mean, don't don't rock the boat. You know, just let things go. But I've had that happen, and it's a hassle to prove disability again. That's a practice point though. Next, sponsor deeming rule. So sponsor deeming is when a person comes in, there's two types of form. The sponsor form is the I-864. That's the form that most people have. And when they basically apply, they see that you have a sponsor and they deem the sponsor's income to be available to you. And it really doesn't matter if the sponsor is paying you or not paying you or not helping you, because in reality, sponsor has no legal obligation to help. You cannot sue the sponsor and say, well, I've got an 864, so therefore you have to pay my rent. I've never seen a case like that. It's just one of the barriers that we have. And if we basically have CAPI for everybody, this whole thing would go away. But that's and you have to fill out the sponsor deeming form, send it to them, and if the person is living with the sponsor, there is no exception. Is the next slide an exception, David?
Let's see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, if the sponsor dies or becomes disabled, or the sponsor has been is abusing, you being a victim of, if you're being abused, then that basically would make you, then the sponsor rule doesn't apply if the sponsor dies or becomes disabled. So you got to deal with your sponsor. If the person is not living with the sponsor, then and the sponsor is not helping them, then they could apply for indigent exception for those with the I-864. And I think in the previous slide we had the form was maybe 455 form that you fill out to get the indigency exception. The applicant or recipient becomes disabled after entering the USA. That's the other one. If the applicant, if the CAPI recipient becomes disabled once they come into the US, then also that sponsorship rule does not apply to them.
Kevin, Sergio asks if an undocumented person can obtain CAPI. The answer is no, I believe, right?
No. No, that's why we have this bill by Garrillo, Assemblyman Garrillo, that says it doesn't matter what your status is, you can still get CAPI. But that bill hasn't been enacted yet, and it's going to take us a while to get there. Okay, let's go to the next whiskey bar. About the indigent exception. Yeah, it's available to people who it is not available to people who were sponsored with the I-134. The I-134 is for parolees. And the indigency form is the Social 809. Yeah, I already said that they cannot be living with a sponsor. And they have to show that they're not able to meet their shelter or food needs without the support of the sponsor. And if they deny, if you file this form and they deny your sponsorship request, you could always ask for a hearing. And in fact, I would go to a hearing, and often they may just agree to approve it once you file for a fair hearing. And the reason for that is that the counties are having too many hearings. So they're just giving it up. They're just saying, okay, you could have it. We'll approve your, and then just exception because you filed for a fair hearing. So that's why it's very important. Always ask for a hearing. You never know. I just had a case yesterday. I got a call. They had an overpayment of $800. I asked for a hearing, and the county called up. Oh, we're going to write that off. Oh, thank you. $800 goes poof. I mean, that's because they're just too busy. They can't deal with all the cases. And if anybody needs help about fair hearings, just call me up and I'll be glad to help you out with it. Moving on to the next. The CAPI recipients have to file for right consideration, then an appeal. You know, CAPI and SSI, it's interesting. SSI, you have reconsideration, then you have a hearing. Basically, for CAPI, you just ask for administrative hearing, and you also get aid paid pending. So that means that your aid continues if you ask for a hearing before the date of the effective date of the negative action, or if you get a notice of action that is not in your language, then you could also get aid paid pending, even if you file after the effective date. So if the person is Hispanic and they get a notice, they mail the notice of action on June the 20th, saying they're going to stop their benefits, and they don't ask for a hearing, and then they come to you on July 10th and say that I didn't get my benefits, I would ask for a hearing, because if they get the notice in English, then I would ask for a hearing and saying that the notice of action is invalid, it's non-compliant, and therefore they have to issue aid paid pending. The notice of action also has to be a 10-day advance notice, and the notice of action must also explain exactly why they're taking the punitive negative action. And you have the W-9 code over there. Overpayments rules are just like SSI. There's an overpayment waiver form, which is SOC 807 and 8070. We have a link over there that you could download that form and use that form. I haven't seen many CAPI overpayments, so but it is there. Hey, we have 20 more minutes to go. Does anybody have questions? Hearing none. David, is there something that you need to say to do the evaluations or whatever?
No, when the Stella has a question.
Okay.
Kevin, I just want to piggyback on what you were talking about. Like when I had a situation where the participant that came to apply for CAPI says, I'm not paying any rent. And so I just kind of asked questions and went around it. And then by the time we finished and the application, we put that he was paying $500 rent, because then I knew that at that point they were going to give him less benefits for not explaining that he's paying rent. So he did do the affidavit. So I guess that's the hardest part for me when I have clients coming in and they're like, well, right now I'm not paying rent because I have no CAPI.
Well, yeah. I mean, so the question is, once you get the payment, once you start, how much are you going to pay? I mean, there's no Santa Claus out there. So how much are you going to pay once you get your CAPI? Oh, well, it's 500. Good. Okay, we're going to put down 500. And that once you get, that you have an obligation to pay 500. In fact, I even have them say, and if the landlord basically says, yeah, we have to pay they have to pay 500. And if they don't pay, we're going to kick them out. So, so that's sort of, I mean, and Yeah, you just fill out that form. How much would you charge anybody else? 500, and it works. So because once you get the money, then you have to start paying, and that's
Yeah,
what
that's,
we're looking at. We're not looking at now. We're looking at when you apply. What happens when you start getting it?
okay, so then I did a good thing. Okay,
Yes, you did.
okay.
There was another question in the chat or something.
Yeah, Malia asks, can someone with a CAT asylee, CAT asylum, and who has a court order for deferred removal get CAPI?
Is it a asylum? Is it an applicant? Is it a 208?
Militia, feel free to pipe in.
Yeah. What?
Are you able to, are you
Yes,
able to hear
absolutely.
me? Okay. Yeah, so I'm not too familiar with all of this, but all I know is that they are a Convention Against Torture asylee, and they have a 2003 court order for deferred removal. And they were, I think, denied CAPI, and so they were just wondering if they would be able to apply again.
When were they denied CAPI?
I think it would have been this year, but I wasn't too clear on the facts, and I was going to speak to them again, but I wanted to.
Yeah, I guess I would look at, if it's within 90 days, I would ask for a hearing. In fact, I would ask for a hearing and then have them reapply too. Do both.
Okay,
I mean,
it would be under a proof call. It would be enough, you would say?
yeah, I mean, have them reapply and also ask for a hearing for the former applications, because like the other one that they found that they were denied, maybe they didn't get the right notice. Maybe the notice was in English and not in their language.
Mhm.
So that's one problem. What language do they speak?
Well, they speak English, but they're from Afghanistan.
Okay,
But yeah.
we do have Farsi notices.
Mhm.
So,
And Pashtun, yeah.
yeah. So I would do both, and then feel free to call me up about it if you want to.
All right, thank you so much.
Did you see
And
my?
Katie has a question in the chat.
Okay.
Since DDSD takes so long to determine disability, are there presumptive disability categories, like if someone has Down syndrome, like there are for Medi-Cal disability determinations? So the county can issue
Yes.
CAPI based on presumptive disability.
Answer is yes. Just like the Medi-Cal disability and SSI disability presumptives, all of those presumptiveness applies to CAPI. Is that responsive?
Thank you. Cool. Well, unless anyone has any more questions, thank you for attending. When we end the meeting, there'll